Okay, so I'm here to talk about the genesis behind the open source project that I'm a part of called HospitalRun. So HospitalRun is an offline first hospital information system specifically built for the developing world. But the genesis for the project actually started in 2011 at a visit overseas to a hospital that's part of the network of hospitals that I serve in Kenya. So I went over to Kenya to actually evaluate the effectiveness of another technology project that we had just launched recently. And along the way, we decided to go out on what's called a mobile clinic. So one of these events where our doctors leave our hospitals and drive 7 hours away in order to go see like a few hundred kids, and then do long-term follow-up and eventually like identification for who are the people that we can help and when should they come to the hospital in order to get served. So they're carrying these giant crates of paper records, not surprised by the fact that the system, like right now the hospital is using paper systems. But then these guys actually take these boxes and stick them up on top of an ambulance, and now we're going to drive 7 hours away with these giant crates of records. So that was when the first time I realized like we didn't have just a technology problem, we actually had an offline problem, right? So how are we going to create a scenario where someone can carry massive amounts of data to an unconnected environment, and then just sort of transparently, when we walk back into a connected environment, make the problem sort of completely transparent to it. So in 2011 that happened. Came back to the office and I talked to my colleague John, and that was when we first started doing work with offline first design. So we built a research database in 2011, 2012 that we deployed in 14 countries for kind of a smaller problem inside our organization using IndexedDB and actually a PHP backend with MySQL as the data store. And that was fine. We learned a bunch of stuff from that, but then actually decided, okay, we're going to look at, well, what does our entire network of hospitals really need to do their work better? So we looked furiously trying to find well, there's got to be a solution that's out there or something we can start to modify that'll help us get to where we want to go. And there are a bunch of open source projects that are out there kind of doing hospital information systems, except they all take the exact same problems and replicate them. Like all the stuff that sucks about Western healthcare systems just gets ported to an open source environment. So reluctantly, we started the project in 2014, and thankfully, what had happened at that point is that the first version of Pouch, I think, had come out, or it was in some sort of dot release at that time. So we started looking at Couch and Pouch as the data solution for how we were going to actually manage the offline first problem, and decided to go with Ember because we wanted a really opinionated framework. So there's this trouble when you're starting an open source project, where a lot of times we all know the most popular projects are things that support developers, right? And it's not because we're bad people, it's because we know the domain, and if I'm going to take a little bit of time to volunteer on something, I want to actually understand what the problem is so that I can make some sort of meaningful contribution. So what we did is decided to pick a really opinionated framework for how you actually do work in this business problem that you may not have as much familiarity with. We'll put a bunch of product management processes around it, so we make it really clear what you need to do, and you can kind of know how to do it because you know how to work with Ember. Or if you don't know how to work with Ember, cool. If you'd like to learn how to work with Ember, you can work on HospitalRun because you will know how to work on Ember when you get done working on a feature with this. So started the project in 2014, and actually at that time too started looking out for what's the problem set. We knew we were doing something open source that was going to be valuable for the hospitals we serve, but how many are there actually out there? It turns out there's not very good data on that, so we actually did our own mashup of data to try to sort out how many hospitals are in places categorized as low to medium income countries. And we came up with a number that was 14,000. And then I started interacting with more people and got told that number is super, super low. It's way higher than that, except nobody really has that number, right? So bottom line is there's a lot of people that are can be served by a project like this. So just last thing, and I'll get so I did bring visuals, right? So there's big 6 focuses for what the project's about. First of all, the project is built for the developing world, right? So it's built specifically for the developing world, right? It really engages offline first as a core design principle. It really takes usability seriously. So can't consult your way out of a problem. That's the teapot that you're spilling on your own hand. It makes time the primary thing that we're trying to solve for, right? So what can we do to give clinicians and administrators back time in their day? It's the only resource we can't make more of. It focuses on the fact that software is not a refrigerator. So like it's a living, breathing item. It needs to be a service more than just something you download. It has to keep updating itself. You can't just plug it in and like wait till the compressor dies. And then finally, we wanted to create a project that gave an opportunity for NGOs, the tech community, and even government entities to collaborate on something that has mutual value and potentially even has like usefulness kind of even beyond just the do-gooding aspects of it. So anyway, that's the project. That's HospitalRun.